So when we think about the cloud, we often picture it as a one centralized location where all of our data is stored and analyzed, where we might do some analytics and, of course, AI activities, but that's not where the data originally comes from. The data is created and consumed by us at the edge, in our world, in the environments that we operate, in the places that we do work. It comes through our interactions with devices like smartwatches, customer touchpoint, AI chatbots, website, the partner ecosystems. It also comes from the devices themselves, like IoT devices in factories. So in today's world, we have a variety of connected experiences across different channels, and the line that really connects all these experiences is the API. So APIs are the core of the value chain when it comes to really delivering great digital services to our customers. And today, 80%, around 83% of all web traffic is actually API requests. That's data from Akamai. Also, the API traffic is growing more than 30% year over year. That's data from Gartner. And also at Google, we are seeing that the volume of the API traffic that processed by Apigee during Black Friday has increased year over year, including more than 35% last year. And with that, we have entered to the age of AI, where humans, technology really interact seamlessly through processing and generation of language in various forms like text, audio, video, images. And we believe that AI will be a profound impact on all industries. Of course, without generative AI, really to allow to our customers, to the industries, to get deeper insight from complex data, to improve the customer service through really nice conversational experiences, generate high quality of content at scale, customize models to meet their specific needs, whether it's banking or retail. And the idea is that by unlocking this power of data and generative AI, it can really help customers to achieve operational efficiency and really focus on what's really matter, which is that business value, business logic, and create value with that. And also, this is what we are hearing from our customers. So generative AI really has the potential to revolutionize the productivity, innovation, and adding trillions of dollars to the global economy. So, for example, McKinsey estimates that generative AI could contribute between 2.6 trillion to and 4.4 trillion annually. That this figure is like the entire size, is more than the entire size of the GDP of the UK in 2021. And approximately 75% of that value will come from enhanced customer engagement, marketing and sales, and R&D productivity. Also, McKinsey highlights that companies that will successfully will use this cloud technology can see 10x return on their investment. So really to harness the potential of the cloud, generative AI APIs, we need to move beyond just cost saving and focusing about creating value. So building the cloud foundations for rapid experimentation, reimagination of API delivery to enable innovation, and of course, unlock the generative AI use cases. So let's see one of the use cases with AI. So imagine that you are a new employee at a massive global company like HSBC, and you are excited, but navigate through labyrinth of the company's policies, procedures, regulation, really feel overwhelming. And it seems like every question sends you to different places, and you need to bounce between different departments, endless documents. And actually, this was really the reality for HSBC employees until Aura arrived. So Aura is like HSBC revolutionary, always on, available expert chatbot powered by Google's cutting-edge AI. So think about it. Employee can ask questions like, can employee work remotely from another country? And Aura doesn't just give you the answer yes or no. It actually pinpoints you to relevant sections in the employee handbook or another question like, what are their maternity leave benefits? So again, or not just outline the policy, but maybe give you some actual link to the employee benefits or the actual enrollment. And also it's beyond just simple answers. So it's constantly learning and understands the actual contents and really can tailor the response based on the employee location, role. And this is another way that can show that how AI is not about replacing job, but rather empowering. And with that, we believe that generative AI will also revolutionize the way that we use and create APIs, and triggering really exponential growth of API integrations. Developers and business users will be very easily to integrate AI models into their application. Think about it, enabling new conversational experiences, self-integrating B2B business models, and of course, AI assistant development. So imagine a future when actually machines create new services and API, and this will be an exponential growth rate. And there will be a time that companies will actually have more APIs than employees. But this also makes the AI security for the large language models very complex. So because these models actually gain more autonomy and deeper integration into our systems, and actually become a target and for sophisticated cyber attacks. And that's why API management and security are more important than ever. So because without lifecycle management, LLMs, which are actually APIs, can become a liability and burden, and really can become a ticking bomb that's waiting to explode into security breach, point-to-point spaghetti, performance nightmare. And what we are seeing here is that there are three challenges that we have identified regarding generative AI and APIs. So the first one is the increased complexity and the scale that adding new API put a lot of pressures on the company existing platform. So think about it. APIs not only growing in the volume, they are also more diverse than ever. Use cases from hybrid, multi-cloud environment, Kubernetes, microservices, AL models, all use API, plus the variety of protocols like REST, GraphQL, gRPC, all these are becoming mainstay. The second one is the increased growth of the API is put a lot of pressure on the development teams and heading an additional burden. And the third one is about LLMs, which, as I mentioned, are in fact APIs. So we need a way to govern them and to make sure that they are in consistency with our security policies, standards, and best practices. So let's see how we can actually address these challenges. So the platforms team, they need and actually require the right governance tools to manage the API growth that created by generative AI. Also, they want to democratize the access to the large language models, meaning that they actually want to provide a self-service way to access to these AI models, and ideally through an API catalog for API products. And finally, developers teams need to take advantage of AI assistants to be more efficient, productive, and when they are developing APIs. So let's deep dive into each capability. So regarding governing APIs and democratizing APIs, so the first one is how to really to scale generative AI across enterprise. And by scale, I mean how to expose them. So we can solve that, of course, by using Apigee to publish these LLM models into the developer portals and making them more easily accessible to developers and throughout our organizations to try out this API. The second one is cost control. So Apigee can be used to control who has access to which APIs to implement quotas. So for example, you can set limits to a specific partner, specific developers just for 1,000 API calls per day. But for a premium user, you can give a quota of 100,000 calls per day. Also, the third challenge is analytics. So it sometimes can be difficult to understand who is using which API and what their experiences is like. So Apigee comes with a rich set of analytics that can help you to answer these questions. For example, to identify what API is really being used frequently by partners, and also to monetize that accordingly. And the fourth is security. So Apigee, for example, provide advanced security features that really help the balance of the risk and the potential of generative AI. So this include privacy control, masking data, geographic restrictions. Also, not just classic security mechanism, but also advanced one. Think about sophisticated attacks like business logic attacks or bot detections. Apigee can help with that. So the idea is that by putting Apigee in front of the LLMs, we can actually address these challenges of scaling, cost control, analytics, and security for generative AI. And this is really about to unlock the potential of generative AI, but also balancing the risk. A little bit more about the Apigee architecture and how it actually fits into that. So Apigee is really can make it much easier to develop, deploy, socialize, and scale AI models across an enterprise and the multi-cloud environment. So Apigee really sits in the center in the digital interaction and simplifying the way that you engage with API consumers and unlock data from any insight of your AI models or any APIs, backend or any system of records. So for example, here you can see that on the right side, you can see that there are large language models, APIs, that are provided. And this includes text to image, speech to text, and other APIs. And developers within this enterprise will be using these foundational models, maybe to fine tune them with your own data. So they can also use tools like LangChain, and they use data from BigQuery to develop their own APIs that suits to their own needs and enterprise usage. Or for example, Vertex AI, natural language vision, and search API. On the right side, you can see that we actually have the business users, the actual developers who want to discover these AI models and to use that generative AI. But the idea is that they want to do that to integrate that into their own existing applications. So for example, imagine developers that want to create a new finance applications, but doesn't know really about GCP. So they actually want an access to use these AI models in a self-service way with as little friction as possible. That's the goal of it. Or some of these LLM models may be exposed to the partners or to the suppliers that they can also build some kind of application as well. So Apigee really sits in the middle and really acts like a bridge between these two components, connecting the API consumer, API providers, but of course also governing them, and really helps to bridge the gap between these two layers that runs at different speed. No one knows what will be the best LLM models 2 years from now. And sometimes they have different protocols, different standards, different regulations. And this complexity and this, like a lot of generative AI use cases will be continue because the C-level really push for delivering generative AI, let's say, use cases, as I mentioned, to increase the productivity, reduce the cost, and to enhance customer experience. Now let's see how actually can AI also help you to reduce the burden. But before that, as I mentioned before, the increased growth of the demand for APIs put a lot of pressure on the development teams, which means adding additional burden. And with today's mindset of the DevOps, you know that we understand that by shifting left and taking more decision and task in the earlier of the development lifecycle. The idea is to increase the quality and reduce the risk within the app. But with that, there is a lot of consequences regarding the development process. Because, for example, if I'm a developer and I need to design the open API spec and build and run the test cases and the documentation and install the frameworks and address security, because sometimes it's something that we cannot add later, comply with regulations, packaging, deploying, monitoring, analyze the impact, business impact. So this is a lot of responsibilities. And of course, it can impact the process. And what we want to do is actually with Gemini is to help organizations to really to be more effective when building, governing, operating APIs. As I mentioned, to be more productive and effective. And the idea is really to offload a lot of these responsibilities to the platform itself and to reduce the burden on the development teams and to allow them to really to focus on what's really matters, which is the business value. So think about it by maybe finding defects early, reducing the security incidents, improving the performance. The idea is really to save time and energy for the development teams. So think about it today. For example, you can do with Gemini and Apigee, you can actually create an open API spec just by describing the API business logic in natural language. And then you can actually automatically register this open API spec into a API Hub, which is the central repository to manage the API lifecycle. And then using this open API spec, you can actually build the skeleton for the Apigee itself, for the API itself. And you can do that already today. And what we actually expect in the future is that Gemini will use your actually enterprise API catalog and will generate the specification based in your actually schemas, actually understand your context, enterprise schemas, security, and convention, and so on. That's the idea of it. And again, the idea is really to reduce the burden. Another options when it comes to generative AI and to reduce the burden. So think about it, LLMs that are actually powering chatbots like ChatGPT, Gemini, Vertex AI. They are very powerful, but only know about its fixed, limited amount of training data. So in order to connect LLMs to real-world data, which usually behind APIs, it's required LLM extensions. So for example, you can ask ChatGPT questions like some questions that will be, the answer will be based on your own data, which means of course less hallucination, more accurate data, more accurate answer and live data. But the challenge with that is that there are a lot of different LLM, different extensions, ecosystem, and it's very difficult to create and manage extensions. So for example, with Apigee API Hub, it will be actually much easier by providing you a centralized platform for LLM extension. So you can actually easily discover, install, and manage LLM extension, and to actually to browse the catalog and of your extension. Another feature in Gemini for application integration is regarding application integration. So enterprises today are also investing heavily in SaaS applications to complete their IT portfolios. And today's enterprise can have more than 500 apps or custom apps that need to be integrated. And application integration is another tool that works natively with Apigee. The idea of application integration is actually, if Apigee is about adding security layer for existing backend, the idea with application integration is actually to build the backend and to leverage private connectors and no-code developments in order to build the actual backend. And Gemini for application integration is also make it much easier to democratize the integration. So we can actually give, think about it. You can now, with application integration and Gemini, you can just tell Gemini I want to create an integration that if there is a new Salesforce opportunity, and if the amount is greater than $100,000, I want to send an email to a manager and then insert this data into BigQuery and also to the SAP. And actually, what will happen is that Gemini will create the integration flow for that. And this is already exists right now. And the next step is actually the capability and the ability to actually to generate data mapping, which what we think is like 80% of the integration effort is actually the actual data mapping. Because think about it, SAP schemas is completely different from the Salesforce object. And the idea is that LLM and generative AI will actually help you with this mapping. And this is really the future of connecting SaaS application. Another capability is in advanced API security, for example, abuse detection feature, which is again powered by Google's machine learning. And the idea of it is like help you to understand again what's happening within your API program, protect your LLM assets. And the idea is really to take all Google's know-how about how we protect our own API assets. Think about it. We have more than 9 applications with more than 1 billion users. And the idea is to take the know-how about how we protect Maps API, YouTube APIs, and to bring that into an enterprise product for our Apigee customers. Again, to help you to detect bots, to detect anomaly, to detect business logic attacks, capabilities that sometimes traditional security mechanism can help you with that. And of course, the idea of all of this is really to expose these LLM models and to actually to publish them as an API products in your developer portals, to make it much easier to socialize with this API product. And yeah, that's really the main idea of Apigee is to secure these APIs and to publish them in order to create value with that. So to recap our session, Apigee is really a key enabler for enterprises that want to realize the vision of generative AI. It's really the core when it comes to exposing these LLM models to enhance the customer experiences. As I mentioned, radical productivity. The idea is to focus on what's really matters, the business value, not reinvent the wheel from scratch. And of course, unlocking any value, any data that you want to actually democratize. And by leveraging Apigee, you can actually mitigate, or Apigee is really strike really in the balance between this innovation, unlocking generative AI capabilities, but security, and really to mitigate the risk of the generative AI that can also bring.